And then so shortly after the Lad Bible is when you ended up at Social Chain, correct?
Yes.
Yeah. So how did that opportunity come around?
Literally, the team was in Manchester. Obviously from Manchester, so very lucky that it was local, and they were looking for kind of a junior sort of social media and sort of writer kind of hybrid position, and basically sent an email to the kind of contact form at Social Chain. It was answered by now a guy called Ash, who's one of my best friends, sort of 4 or 5 years later. And yeah, basically came in for an interview and got on really well with Dom and the team, and sat in this tiny little co-working space office in the centre of Manchester, which is kind of even more crazy, the fact that Social Chain now own the entire building. And we were, when I got there, it was, shared by 3 different businesses on these kind of white collapsible tables, and just a group of kids. And yeah, I mean, being part of that journey has definitely been one of the most special things I could have ever asked for. The amount of learning, the amount of life learnings, the great people. Yeah, it was, feel very blessed that I was part of that, and hopefully can continue to do some cool things.
And then from being there in the early stages, looking back, would you have predicted it to have this amount of success so fast as it has?
I think in some parts yes, and in some parts no. I think Steve to this day is one of the most phenomenal, brilliant, smart, driven people I've ever met, and him as a CEO and a driving force of the company really is a recipe for success. And so yeah, I think as a team we all had faith in each other. I kind of referenced a lot that internal and first 15, 20 people at Social Chain were really phenomenal. We also and they also had this massive advantage of having something like 300 million followers worth of free media accounts. And so you combine that with viral marketing, good marketing knowledge, a good understanding of the social platforms and content, then with sort of great amplification. Who can argue with that? And some of our first case studies were driving 2 million downloads to an app in 2 weeks. And we worked with Spotify very, very early on. We worked with ASOS very early on. Having those big brand case studies behind us, definitely, we just had to walk into sales meetings and pitch honestly rather than having to oversell. And I think that's definitely a formula for success that I've tried to take forward in.
And I saw, I think you were the head of campaigns at Social Chain, and you worked with massive companies. Can you give some examples of some of the companies that you've worked with?
Yeah, so very lucky, and also due to the size of the business, rose quite quickly, became head of campaigns, so looked after everything strategized and executed, as well as helping out a lot of the offices in New York and Berlin as well. And yeah, so sort of Apple, Spotify, Nike, Adidas, Puma, Google, Amazon, Sony, P&G, Head and Shoulders. Yeah, did a lot of consultancy for UFC, Eurosport, ASICS. There's crazy brands when you kind of think of it, and some amazing opportunities and some great business connections, and definitely a very cool experience that I'll never forget.
Yeah. So do you have any like tips or advice for people that are dealing with large scale clients?
Yeah, I think the vanity metric definitely will normally help you get more business. It's just the way of the world, that social currency, that angle. People are interested in the fact that, you work with them. What did you do? Can you do that for us? Is a great platform to go off in kind of a pitch. What I'd also say is, typically the success of a campaign comes down to putting the work in, doing the 1% things, and the buy-in from the client. Especially when typically in social media, it's not an area where most clients and CMOs, marketing directors, CEOs have a huge amount of experience, and they really need to trust in a specialist, the fact that they're going to do the best for that business and for that campaign. And so working with big brands isn't easy. Apple, just on the brand guidelines, there's like 16 layers of sign off, just because that branding is so amazing, and that's one of the reasons why. But when you want to do something that's fast paced and reactive on social, and it has to go through 16 layers of sign off, that's definitely more difficult. And so depending on the client, it depends on the relationship, depends what you're going to get out of it, and depends on a lot of factors. But I think skipping forward a couple of years, my favorite clients aren't necessarily some of the biggest names. It's just getting to work with people that you think are brilliant, people that in their own right you learn from and enjoy working with and have a great, working relationship. And then usually, again, getting to create great results for people is also, super rewarding. So I think that combination is actually better than, oh, it's just Apple Music or it's Revolut or it's Warner or whoever. And it really comes down to the sort of more personal approach to the client management, I think.
And then looking at almost like the other side of that, do you have advice for people that are just starting and how they should go about trying to land their first client?
Oh, first client. I mean, for me, it's always been pretty straightforward. I just had, case studies behind me, so I could just sort of present a logical business case. I think if you're just starting off, whether it's in, social media marketing, digital marketing, PR, branding, whatever it is, I think you have to, provide value up front or understand that you need to get on the wagon and never try and never work for kind of free, but adding as much consulting hours, whether that's, doing a few different mock-ups even before you've got to the pitch, trying to do those 1% things, I think will really, really help you close some of those first deals. And then after that, it simply is just going, right, we did a great job for them. What did we do? And building that business case for your other clients and trying to sort of link that within an industry is super important. And I think that's something that I've told lots of friends who've now started their business, understand your niche, create a great business case, and then, pitch it as honestly and authentically as you can, I've always believed that, and how I try and do sales, I'm not this sort of North American sales guy gonna, Wolf of Wall Street sell you this pen. It's more, if I was in your position, honestly, this is how I would spend your budget. Like, not trying to make as much money on margin as I can. Like, this is what I would do, and this is what I can do it for. And then, you win some and you lose some.
That's fair. And then as another thing that I thought was very interesting from your time at Social Chain was you helped build the 9 most engaged live streams of all time, I believe.
That was when Facebook were really pushing live and actually doing a lot of outdoor advertising themselves to sort of get publishers using the kind of service. And, when basically a lot of these social platforms bring out a new tool, it's usually kind of leveraged and higher ranked in the algorithm because they want, advertisers and early adopters to get the most out of that tool. And we really kind of jumped on that and found out a way that you could kind of stream really effectively, multi-cam streaming, and also have these communities we could amplify, really great and engaging scenarios on. And we kind of found a mechanic and a formula that went super, super well, and we're able to have a hell of a lot of success and a lot of happy clients from that.
Can you tell me what it was like to get over 2 million comments in the course of 2 hours?
It was insane. I mean, from a metric standpoint, it was really great. The guys at the Soul Supply, I still have a great relationship with. But I mean, actually, the stream itself nearly broke a couple of times. So we were just sort of so nervous about keeping this high quality production value. And internet connection, electrical problems. So yeah, it was probably, it took a few days for that to kind of sink in because you were sort of so in the moment of, right, let's just not screw this up. Great momentum. I think they grew, something like 18,000 followers on Facebook within that live stream as well. And they were able to then sort of really leverage some of the sales off the back of that social currency. And I think that just proved to me that, with a great idea, with great distribution, you can have a lot of impact on social, and that's really exciting.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any advice for people today or now in 2019 when it comes to live streaming?
I'm just a huge believer that if you're providing value to your audience and if you're creating and are confident it's good content, put it out there. People get very, caught up on optimal posting times and optimal, amount of posting, or is the branding on this live stream good enough? Now, if all of those things are correct, you are more likely to be successful, but don't stop you actually, executing on that. I think that's one of the important things. But yeah, I think it comes down to understanding your audience and are you adding value? You're not creating this podcast just to sort of get some airtime for yourself. You're trying to think, if I was in, a random entrepreneur or someone who's interested about getting social, what would they want to see? What are the stories? What are the people? You're reverse engineer it from your audience, not, oh, hey, I want to meet this guy. That would be really cool for me. And I think that as a premise is really powerful. And from a Facebook Live standpoint, aren't the easiest things to grow in the world, but as a consistent content stream can work really, really well.